Picture this: a packed medieval courtroom. The judge pounds his gavel. The accused sits in the defendant's chair, but something's wrong. The defendant isn't human, it's a pig, and it's on trial for murder. This isn't some bizarre fever dream or medieval comedy sketch. This actually happened. For over 400 years, European courts literally put animals on trial for crimes ranging from theft to witchcraft to premeditated murder. And by the end of this video, you'll discover the shocking reason why an entire pig family was sentenced to death, how a rooster nearly caused a religious crisis, and the bizarre legal loophole that saved countless insects from execution. But first, let me ask you this. If you had to defend a pig in court for murder, what would your opening argument be? Drop your lawyer strategies in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe because medieval history is about to get absolutely wild. The year is 1457. The place, Savigny-sur-Étang, France. A sow and her 6 piglets are dragged before a tribunal. But this isn't about stolen grain or property damage. They're charged with murdering and partially devouring 5-year-old Shehan Martin. The courtroom is packed. Nobles, clergy, and commoners fill every seat, because this trial will determine something unprecedented. Can animals be held morally responsible for their actions? The prosecutor rises, his voice echoing through the stone chamber. Citizens of Savigny, we are gathered here not merely to punish beasts, but to restore the divine order that these creatures have violated through their heinous act. The evidence is damning. Witnesses saw the pigs attack young Jehan. The child's remains were found in their pen. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The sow's piglets receive a different verdict than their mother. The court declares the mother so guilty and sentences her to be hanged by the hind feet from a gallows tree. But the piglets? They're acquitted. The reasoning? They were too young to distinguish between good and evil, and had simply followed their mother's example. This wasn't just one isolated case of medieval madness. What you're about to discover is an entire legal system that treated animals as moral agents capable of sin, crime, and punishment. But if you think pigs were the strangest defendants, wait until you hear about the rooster that nearly brought down the Catholic Church. Basel, Switzerland, 1474. A rooster is arrested and charged with the unnatural crime of laying an egg. Now, you might be thinking, so what? Roosters can't lay eggs anyway. But medieval people believed that when a rooster laid an egg, it was a sign of demonic influence, and that egg would hatch into a cockatrice, a serpent that could kill with its gaze. The prosecutor's opening statement sent chills through the courtroom. This creature before us has committed an act against nature itself, an abomination that threatens the very foundations of Christian society. The rooster's defense attorney, yes, animals got lawyers, argued passionately. Your Honor, my client is but a simple fowl, incapable of supernatural acts. What we have here is merely a biological anomaly, not demonic intervention. The trial dragged on for weeks. Theological experts were called to testify about the nature of evil in animals. The entire city held its breath. If the rooster was found guilty, it would confirm that Satan could work through barnyard animals. If acquitted, it might suggest the church was wrong about demonic influence. The verdict? Guilty. The rooster was burned at the stake along with its allegedly demonic egg. But the most mind-blowing animal trials didn't happen in courtrooms at all. They happened in churches, and the defendants numbered in the millions. The year is 1516. Beetles are destroying crops across the French countryside. But instead of calling exterminators, the people of Villenox do something that would seem absurd today. They take the beetles to court. Here's where medieval law gets truly bizarre. Since you can't exactly arrest millions of insects individually, the courts developed a special legal process called citation by public proclamation. Picture this scene. The town crier stands in the village square, unfurls an official scroll, and with complete seriousness announces, "By order of the ecclesiastical court, all weevils, beetles, and other vermin are hereby summoned to appear before this tribunal within 3 days to answer charges of crop destruction and theft." The beetles, unsurprisingly, fail to appear. But the trial continues anyway. A lawyer is appointed to defend the absent insects. His argument? The bugs were simply following God's command to multiply and fill the earth. He claims they have as much right to sustenance as humans do. The prosecutor counters that the insects are violating divine law by destroying crops meant for human consumption, thereby committing theft on a massive scale. After weeks of deliberation, the court reaches a compromise that perfectly captures medieval thinking. The insects are ordered to relocate to a specific forest area where they can live without harming human crops. If they comply within 30 days, they'll be pardoned. If not, they'll be excommunicated from the Christian community. The truly incredible part? Historical records show these relocations sometimes actually worked, possibly because the legal proceedings coincided with natural migration patterns or seasonal changes. Now you're probably wondering, how did supposedly rational people justify putting animals on trial? The answer reveals a completely different worldview than our modern understanding of animal behavior. Medieval Europeans lived in what historians call the Great Chain of Being, a cosmic hierarchy where everything from angels to stones had a specific place and moral responsibility. Animals weren't seen as mindless beasts driven by instinct. They were viewed as moral agents capable of choosing between good and evil. This belief was reinforced by biblical stories like Balaam's talking donkey and the serpent in Eden. If animals could speak for God or be vessels for Satan, then surely they could be held accountable for their actions. The trials served multiple purposes beyond simple punishment. They demonstrated human authority over the natural world, provided closure for traumatized communities, and most importantly, preserved the belief that God's justice extended to every corner of creation. But here's what might surprise you. Animal defense lawyers took their jobs seriously and sometimes won cases with brilliant legal maneuvering. Take the case of the French locusts in 1545. When swarms destroyed entire harvests, the insects were put on trial for theft. Their court-appointed attorney argued that since God created the locusts before humans, they had prior claim to the earth's resources. He cited Genesis, and God said, "Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind." The prosecutor was stumped. How do you argue against biblical precedent? The defense attorney pressed his advantage. My clients are merely fulfilling their divine purpose. To punish them for eating would be to question God's plan itself. The court was forced to rule that while the locusts' behavior was inconvenient for humans, it wasn't technically criminal. The insects were given a formal warning and ordered to restrict their feeding to uncultivated areas. Some animal trial verdicts were so bizarre they defy belief. In 1314, a bull was found guilty of killing a man and sentenced to death. But here's the twist. The bull's owner was also sentenced to provide a replacement bull of equal value to the community. In another case, a pig that had eaten a child was executed, but not before receiving the last rites of the Catholic Church. The reasoning: if animals had souls capable of sin, they might also be capable of redemption. Perhaps the strangest verdict came in 1457, when a sow was sentenced to be hanged while wearing human clothes and a human mask. The court declared that since the pig had acted in a human-like manner by committing murder, it should die in human-like fashion. By the 16th century, something began to change. The scientific revolution was challenging medieval worldviews. People started questioning whether animals truly possessed moral agency or were simply following natural instincts. The last recorded animal trial in Europe took place in 1906, not in some backward village, but in Switzerland, when a court tried and convicted 2 men and a dog for murder. The dog was executed alongside its human accomplices. But even as animal trials disappeared from European courts, their legacy lived on in unexpected ways. The legal principles developed during these trials, like the right to legal representation and the presumption of innocence, became foundations of modern justice systems. Here's the question that still puzzles historians. Were these trials genuine attempts at justice, elaborate performances to maintain social order, or something else entirely? Some scholars argue they were sophisticated psychological responses to trauma. When a child was killed by an animal, the community needed more than simple revenge. They needed a process that restored their sense of cosmic order and divine justice. Others suggest the trials were early attempts at what we now call environmental law, ways of regulating the relationship between human communities and the natural world. But perhaps the most intriguing theory is that these trials reveal something profound about medieval consciousness, a worldview where every creature, from the smallest insect to the largest ox, existed within a moral universe where actions had consequences and justice was truly universal. Before you dismiss medieval animal trials as primitive superstition, consider this: we still struggle with questions of animal consciousness, rights, and moral status. Modern courts regularly deal with cases involving animal welfare, and some countries have granted legal rights to great apes and dolphins. In 2017, a river in New Zealand was granted legal personhood. In 2018, Colombia's Supreme Court declared the Amazon rainforest a subject of rights. Are we so different from medieval people who saw moral agency throughout the natural world? The medieval animal trials remind us that our relationship with nature has always been complex, and our understanding of justice, consciousness, and moral responsibility continues to evolve. What do you think? Were medieval people completely wrong to put animals on trial, or were they onto something we've forgotten? Are there situations today where you think animals should face legal consequences for their actions? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know what other bizarre historical legal cases you'd like me to cover. If this video opened your eyes to the strange world of medieval justice, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because history is full of stories that will challenge everything you think you know about the past. And here's a question to keep you thinking. If a time machine brought you to a medieval courtroom where you had to defend a pig accused of murder, what would your strategy be? The most creative defense wins my respect, and a heart on their comment. Thanks for joining me on this journey through one of history's most fascinating legal mysteries. Until next time, remember, the past is never quite what we expect it to be.